Now I can't hear Spenny. My whole rant. He's not even listening now. Talking to myself here. And somehow we're going to spin this into being Jad's the bad guy again. Talking to myself. Dead air, dead air, dead air. Spenny can't hear me.
I can't help thinking, somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. Has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ascension to Ten.
Here we are.
We're back.
We're finally back.
Yep.
We broke up for a week.
Yeah, it was looking like
here
this
we are.
was not going to happen ever again. Why is that, Spenny? Why would that be?
Well, there's a slight discrepancy in, the expectations of said videos in social media. Jad sent me this video of, we were really excited about the James Webb Space Telescope. And he was like, hey, you should put a poll up of us dancing and see which one people like more. And my video was 7 seconds. And then he goes for 44 seconds. And he's like, yeah. And it was the stupidest thing ever. So I did something, made it more exciting, made it more about the telescope. Apparently, he took offense to that and thought he was cool. So I made another one of you dancing versus me. And guess what?
What?
You lost. You lost.
As we have discussed many times.
Every poll that you've tried to put up about the dance, you have lost.
As we've discussed many times, Spenny is in charge of the social media. Okay, so if I have an idea, it has to go through Spenny.
It has to pass my sniff test.
It has to, be created and then generated by him through whatever creative filters he's has on tap at that time. Okay, here's what happened.
Well, where were we? I don't even know where you were.
Oh, I don't know. Probably doesn't matter. Part of that story that Spenny conveniently decided to have technical issues during was that we got in this huge fight, ended the podcast about it, and then realized that we still need to recoup our costs for our equipment.
Oh, right.
And so thought we'd give this one more shot.
So let's give it another try.
We did get
yeah.
This is, I guess, our second fight on one of our, I can't remember what episode that was titled Our First Fight, but this is our...
It was Fifth Element, because you're an asshole.
Well, this was a mega fight. Podcast ending fight.
It was. Almost.
No, in all seriousness.
The other thing, is... Yeah. I was going to say, the other thing, too, is I was trying to coordinate a special of something that Bryan and I have seen, but you have not, because you conveniently were gone for a week.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, illness impacted that one as well. So.
Yep. So again,
TBD on that one.
Conveniently, Spenny was gonna just, during our big fight where we broke up, Spenny was just gonna get a new host and cut me out.
Exactly. I was just gonna supersede you with somebody else.
In reality,
I guess we're here, so whatever.
Yeah, I was traveling, and we had gotten caught up actually with usually we were a week or two ahead with recordings, and then Ended up getting caught up. Didn't have one in the bank. I was gone. So took a week
That's
off.
how it goes.
Yep.
So sorry to deprive you all of a week, but we will be back, and we are back.
We are back.
Better and stronger, which segues into our fat face challenge.
FFC.
Have you been fat face challenging?
No, because again, I was gone, and I brought a bigger
Doesn't
bag than I otherwise would have needed, and that was because
Yes.
I brought an extra pair of
You're
gym
gonna work
shoes,
out.
extra pair of workout stuff, and I was going to hit that hotel gym hard. And so I was gone for 5 days.
Never.
I took a 5-mile walk the first day of my travel, sat on my butt for 12 hours every day for the next 4 days, and gained 5 pounds. Came back 5 pounds. So apparently all the work that I put in the 2 weeks prior to that meant nothing.
Yeah.
And so it was a good time. It was good that was basically the reason that we put a halt on the challenge, or the metric challenge anyways.
Yeah.
Because even though
The
I
head-to-head competition.
thought that I could do some workouts, it didn't happen, and good for me. And the other reason was that our bodies were breaking.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is work trips. You always think you're going to have time to do things, and you never do. So.
Yeah. So how's the fat face challenge been for you this week? I did nothing.
Well, it's been great. So I have found my metric that I'm going to measure.
Okay.
And that's body fat.
Okay.
And since we've started this challenge, I am down 7% body fat.
Let's go.
Yeah. Problem is I've gained 5 pounds.
Pure muscle, baby.
Just
iron.
I've gained like 16 pounds of just pure Hulk muscle, but now none of my clothes fit because I'm getting bigger.
Swole.
And now skinnier. So
wait, you've gained 16 pounds in 2 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
Of muscle. Yeah.
Holy
I've lost
smokes,
7%
man.
body fat, but I've gained 5 pounds. So,
man, I don't stand a chance. What are you doing over there? Are you boosting?
Yeah. You're a scientist. Don't you have HGH?
Hook me up, man. Hook me up, man. I need a boost. Wow, congrats, man. That's really impressive.
Thanks. Except this week I hit the wall. Yesterday I did not do anything because I was so tired. So,
well,
I need to give a bereavement.
Dude, rest is important. Yeah. So, what do you have, a fancy body scale that shoots electrons up your legs and stuff?
I have a digital body fat BMI reader that I've used. You hold it out like this.
Electrodes.
Yeah, it's got 2 electrodes.
Calculating body fat. Wow. Never even seen or heard of that. Was you making this up?
No,
or we'll put a picture up. We'll put a picture up. You'll have to take a picture of you holding this apparatus, and we'll put it up in the video.
It's literally just 2 handles you hold out in front of you, and it has a readout.
Wow.
But it still says I'm overweight. So, we'll get there.
Well, that's the thing though. If you continue to gain weight or mass by muscle, your BMI is always going to exceed what is considered healthy.
That's right. Well,
so it's a rigged system, man.
Totally.
Well, okay, that's so what's your goal then? What's your metric goal?
I don't know. I haven't figured that part out. I have to decide how much I want to kill myself first.
Okay.
I think I want to get down another like 9%. So it'd be down 15% total.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, I've been thinking about this too, and I mean, I guess the only metric that I don't have a Zephyr pod or whatever you have over there.
I'm pretty sure they're pretty easy to
calculating things. But, so I don't even know where I'm at on that metric, but I do have just an analog balance, or balance or scale, I guess.
Balance.
I,
An analog balance?
no, that's the
Is that?
technical term for
Oh, okay,
calculating mass, but whatever.
cool.
So I think I was just going to go by weight.
Well,
But that's kind of a, if I end up building muscle, then it's going to be, I'm not going to go backwards.
well,
if it goes to
when you
plan.
don't have any muscle, I mean, those first few weeks you should be just gaining mass, unless you're starving yourself. I think is kind
Well,
of
maybe that's what happened then. I went on vacation, gained 5 pounds of muscle.
well, your muscles,
while I was on vacation.
you tore all the muscle, so then all the cells finally got to repair themselves, and then they enlarged. I think that's how it works. That's science.
Let's go.
That's physiology.
I'm buff, baby. Buff. Okay, so what's this? I'm confused on your note here. Fat face. This is bullet point 2. We're still doing,
Yeah.
still using these lists. Fat face challenge updates. Final episode we do together for final. What does that mean?
Yeah. Means we're gonna try to get together for the last one, and then we'll talk about our results.
Oh,
something.
Final episode.
We'll do an
together.
after picture. Yeah, we'll do an after picture together. We didn't do it before,
Okay.
but we'll do an after with our shirts on.
Gotcha. Oh, that sounds fun.
Okay. If it
Let's
works.
get that.
You
All
never
right.
know.
Yeah, fine. Whatever.
Well, anyway,
Excellent.
speaking
Well,
Yeah.
we're recording this on a Friday. I did work out today. First
Yeah, I
time
saw
since
that.
I've been back, and gearing up for, I guess, Monday, because Monday we'll hit the challenge back up,
Yeah.
our Apple challenge anyways.
Well, it's good to know that your heart didn't come out of your ass. So you're still here.
Yeah. Still alive. Still kicking.
Good. Well, speaking of fat, I did have a story about fat charcuteries that I wanted to tell. It doesn't take very
Let's
long.
go.
It's kind of a typical day story. My wife and I, we have 2 kids, so we don't get to go out for date nights very often. So when we get a babysitter, it's kind of a big deal. And this winter, we got a babysitter so we could go for like the whole day. And we signed up for a charcuterie cooking class, and then we were going to do dinner and drinks after. And, we got this booked like 3 months ahead of time, like babysitter and this class. So we go to this little place. There's,
I'm sorry, to be clear. You said charcuterie cooking. What? You
class.
cook the meats and cheeses and
Well,
stuff?
a charcuterie
Or-
class where you learn to design it, and you get to eat it, and you get to, decorate your board however you want.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Charcuterie arrangement class, then maybe.
Charcuterie arrangement class, whatever you want to call it. It's charcuterie class.
Right.
I don't know.
Charcuterie class. All right.
Anyways,
Sorry to
so
interrupt.
it's at this little it's like this natural grocers place that has a restaurant, and then they have a little section where they have cooking classes. And I think there's 8 tables, so there's 16 people total in this whole class. And my wife and I, we got babysitter. We get there, we're 5 minutes ahead of time. No one's in there, and I'm like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go to the bathroom before this thing starts. I come back out. My wife looks at me like, what the hell are you doing? Like, hurry up. And we go into the class. Every single all the seats are filled except for 2. And the 2 are, one's in the back and one's in the front. So my wife is like, well, hold on. I'm going to ask this older lady who's by herself, like, for the class. She's like, hey, my husband and I are on a date night. Would it be okay if we, swap places with you? There's a seat in the back, and then we could sit together. And she's like, no, this is my friend cooking, so I'm not going to move. And so we're like, okay. So we go to the back row thinking we can do the same thing, but it turns out there's 3 people together. So there's one person that's going to sit on the table, and then I'm one empty spot. So I get stuck in the back with this party of 3 next to me. My wife sits up next to this lady who is, I don't know. if if somebody would ask me, I would have done it.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Easily,
But
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole time my wife has to sit next to this lady, and she keeps bringing up the fact that like this is our first date night in like 4 months, and we've planned this and how excited we are. And the lady's like, well, this is my friend. She's the one that's running the class, so I just really want to sit up front. It's like, okay. Like they don't even, the lady doesn't even, they're not friends. The lady's like, yeah, I just know this lady. Like it's not like they were best friends, because they're like 30 years apart in age. Anyways, so we do this whole class, do the cooking. Like I sit there by myself in the back, just making flowers out of meats and rearranging rivers of cheese and cashews and fruit and all this other stuff. And by the time we get done, it's like everyone's like, okay, it's time to go. And so we have these 2 giant things of charcuterie that we didn't think about this. We're supposed to go to dinner next, and we have 2 giant boards of charcuterie. So then it's like because we both did them separately because we weren't together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, after that, we had to drive back home, drop off our charcuterie at our house in the fridge, and then drive back to make our date night. And it was just, typical day.
Wow.
It's just one of those things where
that's pretty funny.
And it's just unforgettable because the lady was just didn't care.
Yikes.
I didn't. It's like that person. The only thing I can relate to is like a person that is by themselves on a plane, and they're like, "Oh, do you mind if we swap?" It's not like we're trying to make you sit in the middle row. It's like you have an aisle and they have an aisle, and they're like, "No, I'm not moving." Okay.
Well, it sounds like the third person from that other party is just as guilty, right? I mean, what did it matter if the person that you sat next to, right?
I think it was more the fact that she was with a group, so there was 3 of them together, versus the lady that was all by herself. So that's why we're thinking,
but that
it'd be easier for a single person.
It's like,
I don't know, man. But
so that does remind me of a story that's it's not a typical day like that, but my wife and I also did a cooking class as a date one time several years ago. This was at a Whole Foods, so it was they have a little kitchen up above or on the second story that they do classes with, and this class was to make scotcha, which is kind of like pizza / lasagna / calzone or something. It's a bunch of layers layered on top of each other with sauce in the middle.
Okay. Is it basically replacing noodles with bread?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay,
and then it's just the sauce in between. So we paid for this class, right? And it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap, and we both had to pay for it, right? So we were expecting to take food home because we made the food that we were expecting to receive the food that we both made as either eating it there or then taking what was left.
Right.
But what they ended up doing was everyone made their own scotcha, and there was basically a similar setup like you, several 8 tables or something, each with 2 people there. So there was a ton of people. There was a ton of food. But the thing is, we basically paid for the food that we made, right? We paid for all the ingredients.
Right.
What ended up happening was there was the one instructor, and then there were some helpers, some volunteers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone basically threw their scotcha in the oven at the same time, and then they just served food that was after it cooked. So we got not even a serving full of the food that we made, and then they gave all the rest of it to the volunteers.
What?
So we got a third of the food that we paid for.
Oh my God.
And so we just thought, I don't know. Obviously, we didn't.
Did you get to snack on stuff while you were there?
Not really. No.
Yeah,
I think there was a salad or something, but
okay.
It was, I don't know. We just thought it was kind of strange that I don't know. It was funny.
Well, yeah,
we tried to make it at home later, and it wasn't really that great.
Yeah, the charcuterie thing was funny because no one knew that they were all gonna have to take it home. Everyone kind of expected that they were gonna make these and then eat them as like
Mm.
it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so it was like have a late
Yeah.
afternoon snack. But no one had time to eat it. It was literally like rushing to make the charcuterie thing, and then it was over in like 45 minutes, and everyone just had these giant bowl things of charcuterie. Half the people from out of town, they're like, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this? Take it back to the hotel and throw it away?" So
Well, so how is it packaged up then? Because if you do this ornate arrangement of charcuterie on a cutting board, assuming, right, I'm assuming, or
it was
some
on a
kind of
block of
wooden
it was on
plate.
it was on cuts of like red what's the word I'm looking for here? Red oak. So slabs
Okay.
of red oak, and then you just bring it to the front, and they put the saran wrap, just wrap it like 20 times around
Oh,
it, and then they send you on your way.
See,
So at least ahead.
I was kind of picturing you take all this time to lay out these intricate little details, and they just dump it into a to-go bag and send you home.
No. At least they didn't do that.
That's
That's
funny.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right, I thought of a very quick story.
Okay.
And it was because I saw a commercial yesterday that it wasn't about Furbies, but it had a Furby in it. I don't even remember what the thing was. And it instantly reminded me of, I don't know if this was freshman year of high school or something, or middle school, or sometime around the very, very early 2000s.
Yep.
And we had a sleepover at your house. There was quite a few of us. And I don't know what was going on over there, but your mom had bought 8 or 9 Furbies or something. This was the height, or maybe the pre-height of the Furby craze.
It was
Furby
that
wave
one
that
Christmas
crossed
where
the
everybody.
country.
Yeah, one Christmas where everybody had Furbies.
Well, these things have some kind of IR sensor on them or something. I don't know. If you walk by them, they wake up, right? So there's 9 Furbies, right, spread across the living room.
I don't know if there was 9, but there was a lot.
Well, yeah, there was at least, okay, I can think of at least 2. Because
3 or there's maybe 2, not 9.
Because we were, we're sleepover that time, and we're chatting, whatever, goofing off in the night,
staying up late, being stupid.
These Furbies just kept waking up and talking and talking and talking, and Spenny got so mad on 2 different occasions, and it's still so funny to me because there was one Furby that was on the kitchen counter table thing that Spenny just he had enough. He opened the battery compartment or something, and
I just threw it.
I don't know. No. That's the second one. This other one, you opened the battery compartment and started cutting wires with a butter knife. Or just
yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember if taking the batteries out wasn't sufficient, but you ruined this by cutting wires.
I think that night was the night when there was a thunderstorm, and every time the thunder would hit, these stupid Furbies would go, and they would wake up, and you'd be like, "What the is happening?"
So that was one Furby, and then it kept happening, and Spenny just had enough. This is maybe at 2 or 3 in the morning, and he grabs this Furby off the coffee table and says, "Shut up!" And just spikes this thing as hard as he can.
It just got stuck.
It just got stuck. It was worse.
Oh,
2 Furbies bit the dust that night from Spenny having enough.
Man, those things are so annoying.
Oh man,
I don't know why people thought those.
So, anyways,
cool.
that was my favorite story. Those things were goofy, man.
They were goofy.
All right, should we get this party started? About this movie?
Yeah, Jad started reading stuff off to me, and we discussed. I had to pick which one I wanted to listen to or watch, and we landed on Supernova from 2000. This film had James Spader in it, Angela Bassett, Lou Diamond Phillips, Robert Forster for like 4 minutes, Rob and Tunney, and Peter Fasinelli as the cast. And James Spader, I swear, just
I gotta
plays the
say,
same guy over and over. The way
yeah,
he says stuff.
but I gotta say, James Spader looked great in this movie.
Jacked. Oh yeah, that was one of the
Jacked.
first things I wrote.
He
He looked
because
good.
obviously I will always think of him first as Daniel from Stargate, and
Oh yeah.
he plays this nerd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know when that came out, but it had to have been around the same time. But
Yeah.
James Spader in this movie was looking good,
Yeah.
jacked.
He did look good.
But you're right. He says things in the same deadpan monotone in everything that he's in.
And she and Angela Bassett, she's from like How Stella Got Her Groove Back is one of the films she did. Lou Diamond Phillips is best known probably for La Bamba. And then Robin Tunney has been in a bunch of stuff. She's been in I'm blanking at the moment. And then Peter Fasinelli is probably best known for his drunk character in Can't Hardly Wait, like the teenage film that came out a couple years before this one.
Oh, okay.
But let's see. There is an interesting little development in this story. So this was originally started development in 1988 by the director of William Malone. He directed House on Haunted Hill. And he had actually H.G. Geiger, the guy from Alien, help develop kind of the concept. And it was called Hellraiser in Space. So that was kind of the thought. It was kind of be this, I don't know, sinister, kind of spooky space movie. All that basically got scrapped. And he didn't end up directing it. They didn't do anything with H.R. Geiger. They decided that they just wanted to make some kind of spooky film. And this Walter Hill was the guy that actually started doing the directing. And this is one of those cases where the director hated it so much he didn't want his name on it, and he disowned it. So in the credits,
after the fact,
yeah.
Wow.
So they brought in 2 other directors to kind of help do some reshots and try to fix the film. And he hated it so much he didn't want to be involved with it. So they gave him the alias of Thomas Lee on the credits. Even though there's 2 other people that helped direct it, they're uncredited in the film. But it kind of was interesting because I learned that Thomas Lee was the kind of alias that they used. But previously, from like 1969 to 1997, the same name was always used for filmmakers if they hated or didn't want to have credit to the film that they had worked on because it was so bad. And it was this Alan Smithy. And so every time, if you go and you look like at IMDb, this Alan Smithy is credited for all sorts of different films. But it also turns out that it's all these people that just didn't want to be associated with the film that they created. And in 1997, there actually was a film that came out about Alan Smithy film, which is this weird film about this guy named Alan Smithy, who's a director, wants to do something, and he doesn't get to do all that he wants to do. And since then, they've changed it to Thomas Lee or something like that.
Wow.
So, just kind of interesting.
Crazy. I suppose maybe that shouldn't be surprising that happens.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because now that you know that, if you go and look at some other films, it'll show you like Alan Smithy, but then it says actually credited to the person because now they know who they are.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
Interesting.
And then let's see. they had to do this film in like 2 months because they had a pending actors and producers strike coming in 1998. So they started filming in April 13, 1998, and they finished shooting in June 1998. So it's a quick turnaround.
Well, I guess that's not surprising. Seems
No,
like they
but they
would have
didn't.
done this in a week.
But then they had to do all these reshoots, which was basically just add a bunch of naked people.
Yeah.
We'll get into. Here's just the quick stat rundown. So there was 12 casts. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of people in this film because they're on a spaceship. 545 crew. The budget was 90 million. That's 154 million in today's numbers, and the box office was 14 million or 24.5 million today. So they lost.
Man, that's a big L.
The total loss on this film was $83 million in $2,000, and then 131 million in today's numbers. And just to give you some comparisons of other films, Mortal Engines that came out in 2017 lost $189 million. John Carter has an unofficial range of between 133 and 226 million dollars. Battlefield Earth lost 115 million in today's numbers, and then Kroll lost 91 million in today's numbers.
Oh man.
So that's
epic. So it's in with good company.
Yes, very good company.
Wow.
God. Let's see. Do you want me to do a quick run the synopsis and we can jump into it?
Yeah, hit us with it.
Okay. A medical recovery ship answers a distress call from a mining operation 3,432 light years away. The doctor's ex-boyfriend sent the distress call 5 years ago. The crew goes into hyper-interdimensional warp speed to answer the call and see if there are any survivors. Chaos ensues when the captain is turned into spaghetti while in hyperdrive. The ship is immediately hit by asteroids once they are out of warp speed. The ship loses almost all its fuel and learn that only one person has survived since the distress call was sent. The crew quickly learns that the person is not who he says he is, and the crew is predictably picked off one by one. There is a 9th-dimensional orb enclosed by a 3-dimensional coating that has the power to kill an entire galaxies or something. Does the crew eventually defeat the evil power and sole survivor? Probably. Can't make it up, man.
Or not.
Or not.
But it was left open a bit there at the end.
Yeah. This was apparently supposed to take place in 2101. So like 70 years from now.
I missed that. Did they ever say that?
I don't think they ever said that, but that's one of the facts I found. And then I had a question. Do all space movies have to have the spaceship flying at the beginning? Is that just a prerequisite for this is a spaceship movie?
As opposed to them being in orbit somewhere?
No, it's just always a slow ship flying by.
Yeah.
Start it. I don't know. Just a question about that.
I mean, I guess if you're going to be in space, you might as well have some kind of destination, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It did look like just the Hubble telescope picture kind of overlaid with a ship. With like, it didn't even look like it had a propulsion system. It was just kind of floating by.
I know. Yeah, there was no type of exhaust or anything like that.
Yeah.
My first note on this movie is,
yes,
like a lot of other space movies, like you said, there's stereotypical flyby of the ship,
right?
And then various scenes of the crew doing various menial tasks or recreation, right?
Right.
And one of the first things you see is these two guys playing ping pong on the smallest table possible. It was like playing ping pong on a side table. And there was it was just hit.
No enthusiasm.
Hit. And the thing was, they're standing right next to a big conference table.
Yeah.
So just convert that or something, right? But they're just standing still. I think they were like, had their hand on their hip, and they're just
yeah,
on this tiny table.
It was super small. But the other thing is like the first words spoken are the computer of the ship, waking up this engineer kid or something. But it's like,
Yeah.
why'd you wake me up? And it was like, I was scheduling a test to perform an unscheduled test. What? Like, what? What is this?
Yeah. My
And then
test is to play chess with you unexpectedly.
It was
And-
so weird.
And the guy is just overly dramatic about it.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? What do you mean you're scheduling an unscheduled test to schedule a test? And then it was just
Do you want to play
gone.
chess,
And it was just
Benjamin?
next. Yeah.
But then the next scene, next scene is that ping pong, and then it switches to the captain watching Tom and Jerry, and he's like giving dissertation about, what the impact of this was on,
Yeah.
on the youth while
Yeah.
watching this thing, and it's just Tom and Jerry like chasing each other around. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is happening? And then it moves to the
Yeah, what is this?
android.
Yeah. What is this a larger comment on? Right? It was just cartoons, I guess, being bad. We should ban cartoons. If that's the one thing you can take away from this movie, from a 3-second clip in the beginning, is that we need to ban cartoons.
It doesn't make any sense. And then it moves to the
Um,
android guy in a suit. I don't even know how to explain this thing other than it's just it's a
Dumbest
person
Possible android.
in a suit with just like a silver
just
coating
Yeah.
walking around like
just stumbling
"Oh."
around. Just literally stumbling around because it's so unstable and stuff. And I don't know. And the thing
Gosh.
was, I guess it kind of carried stuff around. I don't know. Was that the purpose of it?
I guess. Oh, well, other than that, then the doctor can also control it. She puts these bug sunglasses on, and she has
Yeah.
little finger things where she can control it
Yeah.
and like pick things up
Given
in
the
other
choice
rooms.
between if you're gonna pilot something, right, a drone, a robot that you
Mhm.
have control over that, I don't know, and you wanted to have that point of view.
Mhm.
I think maybe the first thing that you'd use to have that point of view is, I don't know, light, like visual light, right? The thing that we're used to seeing.
Right.
Just have a video camera, a live feed. But she's doing some kind of X-ray scans that you can't see depth at all.
Yeah.
She's using this to transport things from one place to another, and she can't see depth because it's just this vague black and white swirls
Yeah.
that the robot is only capable of seeing.
Yeah.
Rather than just put a camera on the forehead, right?
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
that
I
thing
mean-
was so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that was like the introduction to all the characters. Start off. Oh, and then the two of them were, getting it on. I mean, that was like
Yeah.
within the first minute. There's two of these that are together.
That
just
was
hooking up. Blue
that was
Diamond
the
Phillips and-
only thing that they're both medical technicians, right?
Yeah.
And the one medical technician, the only thing she did on the ship was to just have sex, I guess. That's the
Yeah, I
only thing that
guess.
she could contribute.
Yeah, it was
That
so
they
weird.
wrote this character in to contribute.
Yeah,
She's just yeah.
it is very
Um,
weird.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of
So-
this introduction was all of a sudden they get the distress call, and it wasn't a distress call. It was like a direct call to this specific space station to come help them, and it came 5 years ago. And they're like, "Oh, we gotta answer it. We gotta get into our dimensional jump, and we all need to strip naked and get into our vapor locked portals."
So they all thought it was strange because normally they have their ship is basically an ambulance, right? Where
Yeah.
they just kind of exist in space, and then if something happens, they're a medical ship.
Right.
So if something goes wrong and someone sends out a distress call, they get, based on their location, I guess, dispatch, who normally receives a call.
Yeah.
A distress call will tell them where to go, right? And so this is the first time this has ever happened. A direct signal.
Yeah.
A direct request for help from that ship. And the captain was all suspicious about it. This has never happened before. Look, I need more information. You're going to have to do a lot of research to see who these people are. I need credible names. I need social security numbers. I need all of this stuff.
Right.
And they come back with says like Carl Phillips or whatever. And he goes, okay, let's go.
Yep.
They say one
Carl
random
Larson.
name that means nothing
Yeah.
to the captain. He says, all right, let's go.
Doctor's
okay.
Yeah, the doctor apparently, this Carl Larson is the guy. Apparently, he was her ex boyfriend or something, and sounds like he was pretty abusive and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh.
And so, the captain very clearly made it clear that we are only going to do this if this is credible, right? So let's do all the research we can. And one of the people says, "Oh, it's whoever."
Yeah,
that means nothing. And the doctor is like, red flag, doesn't say anything, and they go anyways. Okay, so they Spenny said they had to get in these pods. So to do this extra dimensional jump. Now, this is a medical evac ship.
Yes.
And the captain switches his pod with the doctor and says, take my pod, just because. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And
so the doctor goes in the captain's pod, and then the doctor dies because the doctor's pod was malfunctioning.
Right.
And the captain knew that. And so what's the goal here? Because if this is a medical evac ship and they need to jump to where they're going,
save
and
people,
ostensibly jump back with people that they need to bring back.
Yeah.
They only have enough pods for them minus one.
Right. That's exactly what I was wondering. I was like, you can't even save anybody. Someone has to be left behind to save someone.
Again, right? Someone has to die to get there and then die to get back.
But there were 8 pods. But for some reason, 2 of them
just getting a different
3
one.
of them didn't work, or they didn't use 3 of them.
Yeah. So the captain's options were to use just a working other pod, right?
Or the broken one.
Or not go, because not only could his entire crew not make it there and back, but he couldn't bring anybody back when he got there. All of this on top of the fact that this was strange to begin with, and there was no information.
There was no information. It didn't make. Why did they have to be naked? Did that ever make sense? It was just like this film was all about people getting naked. Is it because
you see when you do an extra dimensional jump and you don't want the extra matter to be confused with the reconstitution of your being coming out of the said dimension. So
okay, got it.
So close, no go. But at the end, when they risk having 2 people in the same pod, that's worth the risk. No worries.
Totally.
So let's talk about this extra dimensional jump thing.
Yes,
because I thought it was actually an interesting concept that typically isn't portrayed in sci-fi space movies. So typically when we think of, warp speed is the word that comes to mind, if any comes to mind, for light speed travel or higher than light speed travel. And that's because of Star Trek, right? Star Wars called it hyperspeed or something, or hyperspace, something like that. And basically the general approach there is that because it's like impossible right now for anything to go the speed of light that has mass,
right?
This is in part because the faster you travel, the more massive you become. And so the only thing that can travel at the speed of light is a photon, which is massless, right? Or these little particles that have no mass, so they can travel. But if you go faster, or if you go at the speed of light, then anything with mass will basically have infinite mass. So there's a paradox there, and it can't happen. So the way these sci-fi people get around that is to, in the case of Star Trek, create a warp bubble, like a localized pocket of little subspace around the ship, so that the ship therefore has no mass on the local space plane. And then they combine that with big ass engines, and they can go fast.
Right.
So it's kind of the trick, but it's kind of the trick. The other trick would be folding space so that they basically make the 2 destinations really close to each other. And sometimes, actually, depending on how they portray it in Star Trek, it's kind of how it happens. They fold space around it so that they just make this short little trip. It's kind of confusing. It's inconsistent, but those are basically the two approaches to fold space or to make yourself shielded and massless.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an interesting deviation from those, because they say we're going to jump into a higher dimension, and that's their method of going faster than light. So basically what they're doing is they're going up into, depending on kind of how you think about it, either the fourth or the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
So it's a bit ambiguous as to which one it was, because they obviously never talk about it.
Yeah.
And it kind of has elements of both, because when they do the first jump, you see flashes of the future, flashes of future scenes. And that would suggest that they're either going into the fourth dimension, so that sometimes it's portrayed as the fourth dimension as the dimension of time, but then there's also can be portrayed as a fourth spatial dimension. And so the difference would be, if you have access to the fourth dimension of time, then you have access to all points in time. On basically, you could think of it as a straight line or a three-dimensional kind of thing. And this was well done in Interstellar, when he goes in that black hole, and he's in this basically tesseract, and he sees every instance of time in the future and the past, and he can just choose which one he goes to, and that's where the scene with the books, right?
Yeah.
So when you have access to this fourth time dimension, you're basically always dying, you're basically always being born, and you can have everything in between, because it's all in front of you, or accessible to you. But a fourth spatial dimension would be basically taking a step out of the third dimension, going higher, and then at that level, you have access to basically everything in the third dimension. So if we're talking about space, you just go up, scan around to where you want, and then just come back down. And it'd be kind of similar to the most common conceptualization of this is portrayed as an ant on a table or something. If you picture the ant as a two-dimensional being, it can go forward, back, left, right, but it can't go up or down. And so let's say the ant is trapped in this little square maze thing. Well, the ant can't get out of that maze, because it can't climb up the wall and go over. But us as a three-dimensional being can just step over the wall, right? The ant, it would be, from the ant's perspective, you would see you, and then you would disappear because you step over him, and then you'd reappear on the other side. And so that's kind of how this would work, where they would disappear from our normal dimension, kind of step over the wall that's not, that we can't see. That's the other thing. We can't perceive this, and then just come back where you want to be.
Interesting.
So I thought it was kind of cool that they use that approach. It's kind of similar to the warping of space, because that's kind of what they're doing. They're warping space around in a way that is not apparent, right, to three-dimensional beings. But so in that respect, it was kind of neat that they did something different.
Yes, that is interesting. But one
over.
question I did have is, why does the ship go into hyperspeed in some random room, and then once they get out of it, do they go to a cockpit that flies? Did you notice that?
I guess it's some kind of
Didn't make any sense.
The other thing is that there's a countdown, right, to when this thing takes off, and if you're not in your pod, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But just get in the pod and say go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an onboard AI. Just
there's
say,
onboard
we're gonna
AI.
get the pods.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, go.
Okay.
Or
and
go when we're ready.
Yeah. The robot, the AI, name is Sweetie, right? Sweetie.
Yeah.
They call her Sweetie, and she might be one of the most condescending computers ever. Sometimes she's got some smart comments
to the crew. She's a superior intelligence.
That's true. Well, anyways, they get through this hyperspace. They get out. Everyone wakes up, And then there's the captain, and he literally looks like spaghetti. Like his just innards and shot out of his head and his body. And they're like, we're going to try and save him. For some reason, his pod doesn't open, but everyone else's did. So that must be part of the issue, that it just doesn't work. And eventually they just have to, I think she kills him, doesn't she? She just
she
shoots
just
him or
lasers
something.
him with
Laser shoots him.
laser scalpel. But yeah, so it was very confusing because he was stuck in there.
Yeah.
But then the doctor also kind of wanted to quarantine him in there. It was very confusing, and one of the medical technicians was just pressing on this button, the just open door button,
Yeah.
right? And his solution the whole time, it's not opening. I can't get it open. And he just his solution was just to hit the same button over and over again. Right?
Well, there's a scene later where he does the same thing when he's trying to get
the
in.
code.
Yeah.
It was like 58 alphanumeric digit code that he just happens to memorize, and completely 100% accuracy on this 10 pad.
Anyway, I mean,
so yeah,
the captain dies. The doctor's all beat up about it. James Spader's character Nick just shows up with pear brandy that he's had for years, and it has a pear inside it, and they just drink, and then they, I guess, make love. I don't.
Okay, Spenny, I don't know anything about making glass bottles, but what I do know is that you blow glass, right?
Yeah.
That's or something, right? You make glass hot so it's molten, and then you basically make it any shape you want.
Yep.
Right? And I don't know if this is a real thing to have pear brandy or fruit brandy or fruit alcohol where there's a piece of fruit within a bottle.
Yep.
And so maybe their description in the movie was accurate, where you put a bottle around a germinating fruit on a tree and then just cut the fruit off. Maybe that's how it works. But I can also imagine that if they can blow glass into any shape they want, just make a super wide hole, right? Put a piece of fruit in there and then
it's
make
actually
it smaller.
they actually
I don't know.
They were accurate in the film that they actually do put the bottle on
okay.
it, and then it grows, and then they snap it off.
All right, that seems like a whatever. All right.
I did look that up because I was like, I don't believe this. This is bullshit. But no, it's true.
All right.
So then they get to the thing. They get hit by asteroids. They lose all their fuel
right?
Immediately. And then there's this giant,
and then they
blue star that's right in front of them.
That's getting it was. They failed to mention on multiple occasions that this blue giant, is getting eaten by another star farther away.
Yeah.
But the moon was getting eaten by the star that was closer to it.
Yeah.
They completely failed to even recognize that this star was getting eaten, and there was this, giant disk of stellar material being dragged across light years of space. And whatever.
But how?
But
I
yeah,
mean, think of like how
arrived,
close they were to the moon and the planet. Like they were on top of it. Like they didn't make. You would have been sucked in right away. I have a feeling.
So they come out of the extra dimension. Immediately, the ship basically blows up.
Yeah.
Right? No fuel, can't do anything, but they have the time to hang out, screw around, drink some brandy. And then it's mission critical stuff the next morning or something.
We've got 11 minutes between life and death. That's what it literally was.
Yeah.
Nick doing some calculations.
So then it's the person they went to save. Okay, so here's the thing. Carl Mathers, or whoever the name of the person who made the distress signal, it wasn't his name. Okay, the doctor said, that guy sucks, right?
Yeah.
They get there. This homie comes off the moon and docks with them, stumbles out. Not Carl, whoever. But Tony? It is him, so he was right.
Yeah, was it Troy? He gave himself the name Troy or something.
Troy.
Yeah.
So it was this double cross this whole time because It was just him, the original guy who made the thing, distress call, but he kept getting younger because of this orb that they found.
Yeah, it makes you strong
And
and youthful.
so that he brings on this orb on his ship that they find, and it's, as Spenny said in the synopsis, is this basically bomb. It's a 9-dimensional bomb
Yeah,
hidden or contained within a 3-dimensional container.
right.
And the computer does an analysis of what this thing is, and the doctor, like, who I guess is now the physicist, decodes what the purpose is, and it's to basically be brought to a intelligent civilization's solar system, goes explode, so that makes
Mhm.
the local star go supernova,
Mm-hmm.
and seed that part of the galaxy with the elements for new life,
Yes,
right?
that's right. That's what it was.
Do you know what we're all made of? It's the most abundant shit in the universe, right? That's what life, the elements of life are. It's
Mm-hmm.
hydrogen, oxygen, carbon,
Yes.
nitrogen. This stuff is just laying around. So at no point anywhere in the universe is there a need for a bomb to disperse the elements of life, because if there's a star, then there's the shit that needs life to start hanging
Yeah.
around, right? If there's planets, it's made of that stuff. And so now there's this other thing where the people who made these bombs are just kind of worried about other intelligent life in the universe, and so they
Yeah.
kind of trick them to take it back to their own star system and blow it up so that there's no competition. That's
Yep.
actually a really smart idea and thing.
Yeah,
So
that part made sense.
they just kind of seed the universe with these bombs, in that
Mhm.
in the case of an intelligent civilization that can travel space, um, they would find it, bring it back, blow it up.
Yep.
Here's what doesn't make sense about that. Now, these are at least 9-dimensional beings, right? If they can create 9-dimensional matter,
Yeah.
maybe they're 10-dimensional beings. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't give a shit about 3-dimensional beings, because they have access to all space, all time, all infinite realities, all parallel
Right.
universes. They would not care about 3-dimensional being evolution.
Yeah.
Um, so what are we doing here? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I mean, there's like this thing gets on the ship, and Lou Diamond Phillips' character, like, the first thing he does is he sees it glowing and he just starts like caressing it like a woman's
Yeah.
body. And he puts his hands in it, and then he comes out of it. And then they're like, did you touch it already? And he's like, yeah, this is like the greatest thing ever.
You got to try this, bro.
You gotta try this,
Holy
man.
smokes.
And then it's the stupid doctor with the bug eyes with the android going carrying the orb.
Putting
to
it in
go get-
quarantine, right?
Yeah, and this is where
So-
I think this is where the guy Carl Larson or whatever his name is gets in here. And this is just one of the funny things is the doctor was like scanning him, and she's like, oh man, he has this bone growth that's like, I've never seen it before. Like, he's like repairing and his bones keep getting stronger. And one of the lines is like, you have bone growth we've never seen. He's like, I've had it my whole life. We don't have uplink. I can't confirm that. It's just like,
oh man.
It was just like one of those.
I gotta say,
Yeah.
Several episodes ago when I told my story about the DEXA scan that I did,
Yeah.
I felt like that guy on the table getting
you?
scanned and having the technician say, "You have off the charts bone density."
Were you naked too?
So,
Were they
I was not naked. I was fully clothed. Yeah.
Well, that's
So
like,
okay.
all
Yeah.
this comes to the captain died, so then James Spader's character Nick decides, well, I have to go on this moon that this guy just got rescued from to get more fuel because we lost all our fuel. So he's just going to leave this random guy with all his crew, and he's going to go down to this mining place to find fuel.
Fuel that they don't need, because the extra dimensional drive doesn't need it, right? It just needs to be repaired. And the
Yeah.
other thing is
And recharge.
that you see when they arrive in this area and the ship blows up, you clearly see the part of the ship that blows up, and it's these huge tanks, right? It's the fuel,
Yeah.
gigantic tanks. And James Spader goes to the moon with a tiny little landing craft, maybe a fraction of the size of the fuel tank. So what is he going to bring back?
Right.
What how much is he going to bring back? For
He has
what?
it's the also best part is that he has a dinghy for his dinghy. Like
Yeah.
he's got a
called
rescue
it a-
vehicle for his rescue
yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah.
just cause.
um
I don't know. I mean, basically this is where the part starts where the guy starts picking off these characters one by one. He takes over the ship. Nick is down in these mines, and all of a sudden the guy starts talking to him from the ship because the computer on the ship has taken over the mining ship. And he can control all the robots and stuff in there. So all of a sudden he just starts like firing off like drills
and flamethrowers and
and
stuff.
flamethrowers and stuff at him. And then he just goes up the
I
like,
think the villain uses the AI to usurp the AI to plug into these mining equipments. This
Yeah.
AI knows what's up, right?
right.
And the AI technician, one of the guys who just does nothing the whole time,
Benji. Yeah.
who plays chess with the computer,
always
he's telling
sleeping.
her, yo, you can, just think about what you want to do, right? Help us.
Yeah.
And the AI says, no, I can't do that because I'm programmed not to do that. But she has consciousness the whole time and lets herself be taken over by this thing. And then, whatever.
I mean,
so all the people die.
Yeah, this Troy or Carl or whatever he is, like he seduces that one girl and he has sex with her and stuff, and then like she realizes that like he's not good, so like he rips the controls off, and then he's like, ha ha ha, you're not gonna be able to get away, and she hits him in the face, and like he smacks him, and then he has this blood come out. Later on in the film, he literally gets shot with a gun point blank, and there's no blood, and he doesn't even move, and it just regenerates. But he got hit with some metal device, and like it actually bled. I didn't really understand like what makes him bleed, what does it.
He has these exponential growth in upgrades to his system, because then his body kind of starts to change,
regenerate,
and it's
thickening.
Just out of nowhere he starts being able to recover from more and more. And then his hand gets chopped off at one point, and he uses nine-dimensional orbs to put it just back on, which does make sense, because if you were a higher dimensional thing, you can see every single atom of the arm where it cut off, and then the arm, that part that's still on. So then they just kind of molecule by molecule go back. So that made sense. But it just went from 0 to 100 in terms of what he was capable of, from no stimulus, really. Nothing. There was no trigger by which he started to advance, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
But it turns out that he was the guy this was the other thing, that from the doctor's perspective, right? The doctor was in a relationship with the Carl a long time ago. And this kid stumbles in, and she instantly recognizes that it's not him, the guy that she thought, the guy that made the distress call by name, but looks like how she remembered him. And so she thought, okay, it must just be his son. Okay. That's how it was explained at that time. Turns out he just was that guy, but he's younger. Aging backwards. But from her point of view, right, this kid is maybe 7 years younger than her. Right. So what happened? They broke up because she couldn't have kids, and the guy wanted to have kids.
But he already had one.
So
or no, he didn't, I guess. Never mind.
No, right? So they break up, and then he goes and finds someone else to have a kid with. And then, so that would mean that she was 10, right, when they were trying to have a kid, for the age difference to make sense.
I guess.
For her to think that that's his kid,
that's her
she
kid.
would have had to have been 10, right?
Yeah. The age thing didn't make sense. But there's so many things that don't
So
make sense in this film. I mean, so Lou Diamond Phillips' character gets in with the orb a second time, and he literally is just butt naked with his head in the orb, like, oh. And then his girlfriend is like, here, come with me. And she puts a blanket around him because he's bare butt naked. And then they put a lock on the orb, and then that's where he's like,
yeah.
and then the crazy Carl guy comes up. He's like, might I try? Karate chop. And just breaks it.
How did you do that? After he's experiencing his own real-time upgrades, right?
Yeah.
He's doing one-handed backflip headstand things, right? And this guy who's been with the orb for years comes up and just punches a control panel. And he says, "How did you do that?" And then I don't know. I thought at that point that then it might take a turn where the medical tech would have gone in with him, because I was thinking that maybe this orb was convincing these hosts to take it back to that would make sense, right? If if the orb was brainwashing infected people to take it back to their solar system. No, it's this guy literally wants to sell the thing for money. He has transcended human ability and cognition, and what he wants is to sell this thing. And he was like, "You could have accepted the 5%. Why didn't you just take the 5% deal that I offered you?" And then, so no, it's not this brainwashing thing. It's
it's
the
all
guy
about
just
money,
wants
baby.
money. The thing is going to blow up the universe as he knows it, and he just wants to sell it.
This kind of calls
right?
back to, in Alien, when all they get fixated on the money. It's that kind of same concept where like they keep bringing it up, and it's like, who cares at this point? Like that does not matter.
But in this case, it's from the alien's point of view, right?
Yeah.
Think of the alien coming on board. It's like, yo, you could have sold me. You guys are making a mistake here.
So this whole time, this Carl guy is, killing these people off. He keeps shooting people out of airlocks and stuff. He just pushes them in airlocks and then shoots them to space. And this Nick character, like, Carl has taken his ship away, so you think he's stuck on this moon, but turns out he had a recovery ship for his recovery ship. Yeah, rescue ship for the rescue ship. So he's coming in on this little, like, skateboard size ship where he's laying flat on the ground like Superman. And he comes in and he starts talking trash before he even gets on the ship about how he's going to beat him up. And so that gives plenty of time for the alien to be like ready for this guy to come into docking. And then,
so then there's this fight, right? And I have to, we are not that far removed from this movie. I guess we are, Beyond White Space, right? Where we were talking about how the only weapon they had was a space harpoon.
Yeah.
Right?
There is one in this.
The only weapon these guys have is a fucking space harpoon. Right?
Well, they
try
have
to use.
Yeah, they have a harpoon, and then they have those branch clippers that that
this
Nick
is a
grabs
medical
on.
ship, right? And he has these appendages for cutting branches and stuff. Maybe there's a medical purpose for that, but he has a spacesuit to cut tree branches, and he's trying to, I guess he cuts off his arm with it, but
he's ninth dimensional, so he just finds it and puts it back on.
So
I mean,
whatever they
so they finally, the doctor and Nick finally get Carl killed by tricking him into going up into this 0G space that they have on the ship, and the android is
part of the ship. They
part
take
of
him
the
to a part of the ship.
Part of the ship, and the android is sitting there with the orb, and the doctor has her hands and her goggles on. Like you said, she can't see anything. It's just X-ray, and then she sees something start coming or moving, and then they blow it up. Like, if it's a bomb, why do you blow up a bomb? And how does the ship not get destroyed?
Yeah.
It just shoots it out. Doesn't make any sense.
So Troy gets incinerated, right? And then the bomb just gets yeeted out of the ship. They have a hole in the ship now, but which is fine.
Yeah,
fine.
totally fine.
But then this triggers a
Supernova.
cascade. Right? Yeah,
Well, yeah.
the bomb is going to go off because it just got activated.
Yeah.
Right, by getting blown up. And so, despite the fact that they were 34 light years away from the solar system, the AI calculates that this thing is going to just wipe out everything within I don't know, 80 light year radius conveniently.
It says it's going to destroy Earth in 257 years.
Yeah. And so they, are going to take a dimensional jump back to the solar system
in the same tube because they only have one that works. Right?
Yeah, they get in the same tube. They cross eyes. They exchange an eye, and fertilization happens.
Yeah.
And so, but then the computer was saying, okay, the computer said solar system is toast in this amount of time. But then then the AI said, I guess we'll wait and see if it's blown up or if it causes humanity to become better. I guess because of the threat that it's going to blow up, or the bomb itself is going to make them better. Did you understand that?
Nope, I didn't. There's many questions I had.
What?
And then it ends. That's it.
And then it's over. Yeah.
So this James Spader has disowned this film and expressed his regret for participating, citing that this is the one in his career that people should avoid.
Oh
man. Angela Bassett, who plays the doctor on this, she turned down Monsters Ball to be in this film. So Monsters Ball turned out to be like Academy Award winning. Yeah, that's Halle Berry. And then Tommy Malone, who was the original guy to pitch this film in 1990, he envisioned that it would be a modest budget project of about $5 to $6 million, and it ended up being $90 million. And what's else? Carl was actually supposed to turn into a demon, so they reshot it to make him turn into an actual demon, but they said it didn't look like the character, so they cut it all out and they reshot it with him just partially transforming in the end.
Okay, so they reshot it twice?
Yes.
What difference could it make?
And also, right? Yeah, also in the scene, the zero gravity scene where the doctor and Nick are like making love to each other. That was actually, they just took other clips from the other group doing it and they just color graded it so it looks like.
So they blackfaced one of the people.
Yeah.
In post.
Yes. It's just like, what is happening? Like this whole movie was just a complete disaster.
All the scenes of the people in the 0G pod.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of this pod, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do they get out? They don't have thrusters or anything. I mean, they have no.
I don't know.
I don't know what the solution is there or what the purpose is.
Yeah.
Because, okay, they, like most sci-fi type ships that care in some ways about stuff, I guess, they have a centrifugal part of the ship.
Yeah.
Where they have local gravity, but then the rest of the ship doesn't have that.
Yeah.
But they have gravity regardless. And that's because this ship is under thrust, right?
Right.
So that provides a sense of gravity. So eliminating the need for the centrifugal part, but making it impossible to just have some glass dome be 0G if the whole thing is under thrust, right? So what's going on here?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense. There's more questions than answers from this film. Yeah. Needless to say, there's a lot of.
Well, should we rate this thing and get it over with, or move on?
Sure. Yep, let's do it.
What you got?
This is an Ascension.
Ascension.
I think this is the third one I've done in a row. I think, or two in a row.
Second one in a row.
Jeez.
Spawn was another Ascension.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Those came out. Well, this one came out a couple years after, but yeah. Dang.
I gave this a 0.6
Oh wow.
because of their thoughts on using
What?
extra dimensions for
They
space
got
travel.
a half point for extra
neat.
dimensional.
Yeah. So
Well, it's pretty cool to see someone get impregnated in, interdimensional space or speed or whatever it was. Travel.
I mean, it kind of makes sense too, because you just, I guess, take a sperm outside of a dimension, put it in the egg through
Right.
the other dimension, right? And then it's, I don't know, I guess you wake up and you're pregnant. But
I guess.
same thing with the eye. I guess you just take one eye out through the fifth dimension,
Yeah.
reach around and put it back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie sucked.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was only 90 minutes.
Yep.
Unlike Spawn, which was 3 hours or something.
Yeah.
All right, what's on deck?
So I'm gonna do something different. We're gonna do a new movie that just came out.
Okay.
I don't know if it's good or not. I don't.
Do we have to
know
go
if
to
this
theaters
can...
for this?
No, we
Okay.
don't. I don't know if this one. It's not. I don't think I would classify it sci-fi, but it's action adventure. We're gonna do The Gray Man on Netflix.
Okay.
We'll see
Gray
how it
Man.
goes. Gray Man.
I'm intrigued.
It has. Let's see who's in this. Lots of big hitters, I think. Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, Billy Bob Thornton. So there's some big ones.
All right.
See how it goes.
Oh, is this about some kind of spy or something? Are there spies?
I think
or something
CIA
like that?
spy or something. Yeah.
Okay.
It just came out, I think, today. So.
All right. Very nice.
Thought we could change it up and try something that's new. See how it goes. We've had a couple duds.
Several duds. Although, I mean, Top Gun 2, 10 out of 10 out of 10.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
So,
10 out of 10 out of 10.
We were riding high pretty good.
That's one of the top 10 grossing films of all time. Did you know that?
I just saw something about how it surpassed Avengers recently or something like that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
that's a film that I wouldn't mind going to see again. So I'll definitely be
nice.
buying that one when it comes out. But
Yeesh.
if anybody has recommendations for films, we certainly appreciate those. You can find us on the socials at Ascension2TN, or you can email us at boys@ascension2ten.com. All those are in the description as well for the podcast. Jad does a great job of doing that and also adding a funny description to each episode. We are found on YouTube at Ascension To 10 Podcast. And then we have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us there. And what else? Anything?
Nothing.
If you have a typical day story, also, please submit those because we love getting to read those.
Yep.
We've had one submission, so hopefully we can get some more.
Yep. All right, everyone.
But until next week.
Thanks for tuning
in.
in.
I'm Spenny.
See ya.
Bye.
Ascension to 10.